coverage you won't find anywhere else. This is Weather Scope This Morning.
Good morning, Jim Cantore live in the Weather Channel Forecast Center as we continue to update you on a very dangerous situation. And I know it's going to be very difficult for some to perhaps get the O.J. Simpson verdict out of their head and transfer into what is equally, if not more important here with this Hurricane Opal, because we are already talking about a hurricane that's an Andrew Hugo type storm and possibly even stronger. We got a new Hurricane Hunter aircraft reporting 917 millibars, and that and also some tremendous flight level winds. Tremendous flight level winds which put this thing well out above and beyond the call here. Let's go ahead and take a look at the hurricane advisories that we have. Warnings are out from the mouth of the Mississippi on down to Anclote Key. That means hurricane conditions are happening, and they're going to be happening within the 24-hour period. Tropical storm conditions extend east and west of where we have the warnings, and we've already felt some tropical storm force winds. Storm surge is one of the biggies with this. Now, with Hugo and Andrew, we did not have to deal much with storm surge, but you've got a whole different situation when you've got a storm in the Gulf of Mexico, especially of this caliber. We could be talking about 12 to 20-foot storm surge. Here's a look at the satellite picture, and you can definitely see this hurricane as it's making its way on off toward the north, and we could be talking about landfall somewhere near Pensacola, possibly as soon as 15 hours or so. So this is an extremely dangerous situation. Speaking of Pensacola, our very own Bill Keneally is live in Pensacola. And Bill, I may not be able to hear you very well, but obviously you can give us the latest on what's going on there.
Right, Jim. Thank you very much. Again, we're at Pensacola Beach. You can see the pier in the background here. We have watched the seas rising over the morning hours as day is dawning now. We are approaching a high tide at 8 o'clock local time. Really, though, on the Gulf Coast, our tides are rather irrelevant. As you have mentioned, with a storm surge of 12 to 20 feet and a tidal variance of only about 2 to 3 feet, I don't think it really means that much. But nonetheless, we have had a tremendous amount of rain. We arrived here yesterday about 5 p.m. local time in a torrent of rainfall. The rain has been off and on. It's been torrential all night long. The winds are now picking up. The winds are now from the northeast. And I think that wind direction is critical. Last night we got here about midnight, and again it was around a north wind. The wind has veered to the northeast, and with that, I think it is portending that the storm is probably going to track over us, maybe a smidge to our west. And because of that, as you mentioned, those storm surges of 12 to 20 feet are probably very likely. And I got to tell you, the residents here, I think they are very savvy as far as hurricanes go. They know what Hurricane Erin did just 2 months ago yesterday. They are well aware of the impact of a hurricane of a Category 4, as Hurricane Opal is. And we have just received word that the bridge, the Bob Sykes Bridge, will be closing shortly, and we'll have to get off the island here. We are right here on the ocean front, or Gulf front, as I said, and we will have to move probably over the Gulf Breeze. There is a mandatory evacuation. The evacuation order went out at 10 o'clock last night, and at that time, the evacuation order was to be completed by noontime today. As you can see, the rain definitely picking up now, but they have bumped that forward now to 9 a.m., and at 9 a.m., at the latest, they're closing off inbound traffic on the 3-mile bridge. That is the Pensacola Bay Bridge, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do bump that up. As you said, the hurricane's still a couple hundred miles out, but this sea is going to come up, and it's angry already. So, Jim, again, we'll keep you apprised here. It looks like the wind is picking up. I would estimate northeast winds about 30 miles per hour, some gusts possibly a little higher than that.
Hey, Bill, how tall is that building behind you, would you guesstimate?
By the way, Jim, I pity this poor pier. This pier stands about 20 feet tall, I'd say. The pilings are about 10 feet. The pier extends out into the open Gulf by about 150 yards.
Don't be surprised to not see that tomorrow morning. Thank you very much, Bill. That's exactly what we're dealing with here, folks. 20-foot tall structures, 30-foot tall structures like that sitting out of the water. I would not be surprised if it takes a direct hit in Pensacola that structure will actually be gone. Now, another thing we have to deal with here besides the coastline. Let me talk more about this storm system here as we go back to the satellite, and I'll show you exactly what we got. Not only is it a system that is going to affect the coast. We mentioned the storm surge. Bill showed you the waves, but I cannot stress to you enough. Inland sections, Montgomery, Alabama, Columbus, Georgia, Atlanta, Birmingham, perhaps even Chattanooga and Knoxville have to be prepared for what could be extensive damage. I mean, you're talking about a system that's got 135-mile-per-hour winds right now and is moving north-northeast at 18. And that's not just going to stop when it hits the coast. It's going to continue to wind down, and it could even accelerate once it gets on shore. So with that in mind, you're going to be talking about loss of power and perhaps even several reports of trees and power lines down all the way from Montgomery on up to Atlanta if it stays on this current path. Now, you folks from Mobile and the mouth of the Mississippi all the way to Apalachicola should not let your guard down. Any type of jog west or east could change the whole scenario here of where this thing is going to make landfall. You can see the landfall, the rain that this area has already received, and you've got 3 to 8 inches of rain that's already occurred here. Another 3 to 8 inches is going to cause some big problems, especially when you topple it with what could be 100 to 120 mile-per-hour winds moving well inland as we go through the overnight hours. So, folks, in 24 hours, we have got a tremendous situation unfolding with this hurricane as it makes its way onshore sometime before 11 o'clock, we think, tonight, very near Pensacola at this current track and position. So I cannot emphasize this enough, not only along the coast, but also inland, as far north as Tennessee. As far north as Tennessee, we could have big problems here. Stay with us. We'll continue to keep you posted. Let's go back to the studio and talk to Bruce.
Thank you very much.